BM Khalsa College, Garhshankar, on the role of literature in the present COVID-19 crisis. I welcome you all here. Now I invite Professor Ritu Singh, Professor, Department of Languages, BM Khalsa College, Garhshankar, to formally welcome our today's key speaker. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Professor Kiranjot. A very good morning to all. Warm greetings to everyone present here. Myself, Ritu Singh, Assistant Professor English, Department of Languages, BM Khalsa College, Garshankar. On the behalf of our college, I'm going to welcome you all on this virtual platform. I welcome you. I welcome our today's resource person, respected resource person, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sharma, our worthy principal, Dr. Baljeet Singh Khera, on this national level webinar on the role of literature in the present COVID-19 crisis. It is a great pleasure to welcome our all the faculty members, all the participants and students who have joined this webinar from the various college, universities, and the all various states from India. I am pleased to announce that we have participants from Gujarat, Rajasthan, Assam, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Chandigarh. So I am I'm formally going to welcome all the participants in this webinar on this virtual platform. We are conducting this webinar under the patronage of our worthy principal, Dr. Baljeet Singh Khera. Today, we have a very eminent personality amidst us, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sharma, head of the Department of English at Sikh National College, SPS Nagar. I welcome you, sir. Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sharma is a renowned personality. He is a joint editor of Charan Kamal, a journal of advanced studies. He has published many papers in research journals. He has also edited a book titled Contemporary Literature and Language, a microscopic reading. He has written more than 140 poems and two short stories. He has also delivered an extension lecture. He is a member of various bodies and organizations. He is keen to devote his time to research work and creative writing. Once again, I welcome you, sir, on this national level webinar. Our principal sir has an urgent meeting, so is not able to join us. But he has sent an audio message, which I going to request Professor Kiranjot to share with all of us. Professor Kiranjot, please share the audio of principal sir.
Honorable Dr. Rajesh Kumar, Head Department of English, SN College, Banga, resource person of the webinar, and dear Professor Ispal Singh, Head of Department of Language, Professor Ritu Singh, convener of the webinar, and our team members, faculty, and staff member of Babbar Akali Memorial Khalsa College, Garhshankar, and dear participants, good morning to all of you. First of all, I thank Dr. Rajesh Kumar for accepting our invitation to become the key speaker of the webinar on role of literature in the present COVID-19 crisis. I fully appreciate you for finding the time to be with us despite your tight schedule. I congratulate Professor Ritu Singh and Department of Language for taking initiative to organize this webinar. I welcome all the participants. The main objective of this webinar is to provide solace and comfort to the participants. I am confident that this webinar will help to achieve the main objective of the webinar. I request all participants to get maximum benefits from this webinar. Once again, I wish to extend my hearty welcome to Dr. Rajesh and everyone who is present in this webinar and congratulate to the organizing team. Thank you all very much. Stay safe. Wish you and your family good health.
Thank you, sir, for always encouraging us to organize these events. So, without delaying, I would like to invite our today's resource person, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sharma, to deliver his topic. Over to you, sir.
Very good morning. Hope I'm audible to you all.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
I feel extremely elated for having been invited to deliver the keynote address on the theme of the webinar, Role of Literature in the Present COVID-19 Crisis. And for that, I am thankful to the principal, Dr. Baljeet Singh, Dr. Jaspal Singh, HOD, Professor Ritu Singh, convener of the webinar, Professor Navdeep Singh, Professor Kiran and the entire organizing committee. The topic of the webinar, the role of literature in the present COVID-19 crisis, is highly significant under the critical circumstances. Rather, a very appropriate one. And organization of a webinar regarding this theme is a praiseworthy step and a great contribution, I would say, to the afflicted society that is trying to overcome this pandemic. We will here try to see as to how literature can and study of literature can become our mainstay during such adverse times. Here, a couple of lines of W.B. Yeats comes to my mind from his immortal poem, The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer, things fall apart, the center cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. However, these lines were written in some different context, but these lines can be applied to today's situation also, the gloomy situation in which we find ourselves and the whole of the human society. Everywhere, disappointment and frustration is there everywhere, both at the individual level as well as at the societal level also. So we are facing a huge crisis at this moment, and it looks like as if everything is falling into pieces. Things fall apart here. Especially this line is very much applicable to today's scenario. However, it is a pessimistic note, but here and there it appears as if there are many things which are falling apart. Many people are facing hardships. There is a crisis at the economic level also, and ethical and moral levels also. So it's a really a woeful situation that we find ourselves in, really a calamitous situation of huge proportions coming in form of this pandemic. It has gripped the whole of the world. It is troubling us, and everywhere we are facing problems. Uh, it has become a huge crisis, as is evident from the title of this webinar, both at individual level as well as a human society. No doubt this is how life is. These ups and downs are bound to be there in our lives. If we go back into history, we see these kind of things happening, these kind of adversities coming to the forefront and troubling us, challenging us. But then it's not that we were defeated. As a human race, we revolted, we protested, and we stood strongly against such problems, such adversities. We fought back. Our history also tells us that, our literature also tells us that we always fought back whenever we were faced with such problems. And we bounced back, we recovered. So that just shows the triumph of great human will, endeavor, and enterprising spirit. We can do the same even now also. This thing can happen even now also. We must understand that the life moves in a cycle where it is rise, fall, rise, fall. This is how these phases of ups and downs continues. So all these odds and adversities are prevailing nowadays also, and individually as well as collectively, it is possible for us to find the ways to fight this crisis, to fight against this problem. Not just this pandemic, but we are faced with other kinds of problems also. Natural calamities are also there. Catastrophes are there. Cyclones are there. Tornadoes are there. Earthquakes, floods. So we are faced with, and we have to encounter many such problems and adversities, including all these epidemics and pandemics. So what we need to do is to show our resilience, resolve, and determination to overcome these tough situations. And that can be done by way of our willpower. Human willpower is very, very strong. It can turn even defeat into victory, into conquest. In this connection, a couple of lines are coming into my mind. How strong human being is, how we can, through our indomitable willpower, we can conquer even a losing situation into a winning one. जीत और हार आपकी सोच पर निर्भर करती है. जीत और हार आपकी सोच पर निर्भर करती है. मान लो तो हार होगी, मान लो तो हार होगी, और ठान लो तो जीत होगी. So if you are determined, if you think you can, then definitely you can come out of any any critical situation. So human endeavor and enterprising spirit makes us achieve anything and everything. We used to say that for people who have great willpower, for them only sky is the limit, but sky is no longer the limit. Those limits have been pushed beyond. The sky of earth, we are no longer confined to that. We have moved beyond our earth. We have made forays as a human society onto the lunar surface, onto the surface of moon. And nowadays, uh, we find ourselves, our presence as a human society, even on the Martian soil also. So not just that, this is only about our solar system. We are even trying to go beyond our solar system also, into the domains of other stars also. Human beings are nowadays thinking about interstellar voyages, interstellar explorations. Well, that would have been unthinkable a few years back. Interstellar space, I mean, travel between stars or among stars. So, just to give you a glimpse of what this interstellar voyage or journey could be like, I would like to tell you that our neighboring star system, Alpha Centauri, is just above 4 light years away from us. But it's not a small distance, but in astronomical terms, it's just a neighborhood. But if we make a voyage with our current technology, it will take tens of thousands of years to reach that star and its planets, habitable planets, if they are there. So, but we are thinking in terms of these things. It's a triumph of human will. Somewhere down the line, maybe 1,000 years down the line, who knows, it may be possible. And literature has shown us the way in this regard. Uh, the Time Machine of H.G. Wells comes into my mind. That's a very excellent novel. And that has talked about evolution of time machine, with the help of which we can go backward and forward in time. Now, in those times, it would have been just a mere fancy, a mere imagination. But now scientists are trying to work out to make something like time machine, with the help of which we could go backward and forward in time. That again shows that literature can pave a way, literature and art can pave a way for scientific explorations also. So again, that goes on to tell us about a great and indomitable human will, its power, and its conquest. So when human beings can think big, and so big as to plan even interstellar, something like interstellar explorations, then I think this crisis we are faced with at this moment, this pandemic, I think it's not that huge, not that big. We shall be able to together defeat uh, uh, this disease, this pandemic. So what we need to do is think big, dream big. If we think big, if we dream big, we shall be able to divert our attentions from negativity. And again, literature can come to our help in doing that also. So somebody has beautifully said this, मंजिल उन्हीं को मिलती है, मंजिल उन्हीं को मिलती है जिनके सपनों में जान होती है, जिनके सपनों में जान होती है, पंखों से कुछ नहीं होता, हौसले से उड़ान होती है. So meaning to say that what we need to do is dream. I will come to that a little later also, how there is a great connection between dreams and literature. This is precisely the role literature plays. By promoting in us enterprising spirit, it gives us wings. Literature provides us with wings with the help of which we can fly, with the help of which we can soar into the sky. It gives us wings, invisible though, to fly in the limitless sky of possibilities. That is the great role played by literature. And if there is negativity, I have already talked about that. Negativity can be converted into positivity. This negativity or the atmosphere of negativity we find ourselves locked in is, it can be driven away in many ways. It can be achieved by keeping ourselves in doing what we enjoy the most. If we start doing what we enjoy the most, probably our attention from negativity, from frustration and disappointment would be gone. We will feel better. And of course, example of such activities are social service, honing out one's skills, pursuing one's hobbies, reading literature, etc. Now I come to here the role that can be played by the study of literature in helping us to grow and evolve, in helping us to sustain. When everything fails and everything will fail, probably literature will provide us the mainstay. As Matthew Arnold also says in the study of poetry, it is the poetry that will stand by us. He makes forecast. He makes it.
Due to some network error, our resource person has left. He has joined back.
Okay, there was very sorry. There was slight interruption. So
No problem.
okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So we were talking about how the negativity which we find around us, that can be converted into positivity, and that role is and can be played by literature very well. We were talking about Matthew Arnold's forecast, his prediction that time will come when everything will fail, when even religion will fail. Then only one thing will remain, and it is going to be poetry. Poetry alone will provide us then the much needed help. It will become our mainstay. So he wasn't wrong while he was thinking so highly about poetry. And poetry here can be taken to mean the whole of literature. Poetry itself is a very, very good thing. The best of all literature, the breath and finest spirit of all knowledge, as William Wordsworth says. But the whole of literature is really very, very helpful for us in dealing with the all kinds of problems. We will talk about them also, how with the study of literature, what kind of problems can be solved, how they can be solved, and how literature can make us constructive, how it can help us in avoiding being destructive. So we will talk about all these things. First of all, as we talk about the importance of study of literature. So in literature, there are various genres are there, like stories, novels, memoirs, autobiographies, biographies, drama, and poetry. You can choose any kinds of work. You can pick up stories, the stories that entertain you, that delight you, like our childhood stories even. We used to study them, and which are taught to children at right at very early age. The stories or the tales taken from Vishnu Sharma's Panchtantra. Even those short stories give us great happiness, give us great lessons. So stories, you can pick up novels. I'm not talking only about one language. Here, the literature can be of any language, can be of any country, can be of any region. That is highly enjoyable. You can and we can relish the literature of any country, any place, any religion, any region. So it is great if you try to read the literature of different languages, of different cultures, of different countries. That will broaden your mental horizon even more. And this is what we do. So novels, you can pick up memoirs, autobiographies. Autobiographies and biographies, they are also very, very important for us. Their reading can be highly motivational. Like Abdul Kalam's autobiography, Wings of Fire, Nelson Mandela's autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. These kind of autobiographies, they tell us how, in spite of all kinds of problems, impediments, and hardships, it has been possible for a human being to climb to the top of the world, to become great in the service of mankind and humanity. So, if you like, you can read autobiographies, then biographies, drama, and poetry. Coming to poetry, poetry is, I would say, personally speaking, poetry, I find poetry to be most motivational of all genres of literature. As I have already talked about it, poetry is the best of literature. You simply like to read poetry, like to hear it, even if sometime you do not understand poetry, still you like to hear it, you like to read it, even if you understand it or not. And when after repeated attempts you are able to understand, and after some difficulties, when difficulty level is gone, you are able to appreciate and understand poetry. It gives you highest possible satisfaction and ecstasy also. So it's not for nothing that William Wordsworth says in his preface to Lyrical Ballads, poetry is the most philosophical of all branches of learning. William Wordsworth says about poetry that it is the most philosophical of all branches of learning. And he says one more thing about glowing thing. He says one more glowing thing he says about poetry, that poetry is the breath and finer spirit of all knowledge. Poetry, whether it is spiritual poetry, mystical poetry, religious poetry, epic poetry, romantic poetry, any kind of poetry it may be, you simply relish it, you enjoy it. So we are trying to be sensitized towards poetry, towards its beauty, right from very early childhood. That's why we are, even in nursery classes, rhymes are introduced. We are introduced to the beauty and aestheticism that is there behind poetry. As a nursery student, you may not know the meaning of those rhymes, but you like to recite them. You draw a great pleasure out of reading and reciting those poems. That is sheer beauty of poetry. So I'm not just here only talking about the beauty of poetry, but beauty of and greatness of literature as a whole. We will have to talk here. All genres of literature, they are a powerful tool. I am saying here, all genres of literature are a powerful tool in promoting overall well-being in us. Literature, as I have already talked about it, it plays a very positive role, a very constructive one, and it can do even more also, emphatically during the ongoing crisis. This is what generally is the function and the role of literature, but it can become even more crucial, more significant during these times. Literature, I would say, literature is an antidote. It is an antidote to various mental and psychological problems. Literature is an antidote, it's a powerful solution to counter the mental problems, the psychological problems. If we read literature, our anxiety, our frustration, our disappointment, all these things would be rooted out, all these things would be driven out, and we will feel lighter and better. Feeling of empathy and sympathy, these virtues are developed into us by way of literature. We come to understand life, we come to know more about life, we come to know even about the working of human mind also, about the human psychology also, about the motives of human beings also. All that happen and can happen because of our study of literature. So I will come back to that thing again. As William Wordsworth says, literature teaches us, it delights us also. That's not a wrong thing. Literature teaches us and delights us. All, we are taught by literature various values, various qualities, and especially our religious literature, our spiritual literature, how it teaches us. We know it very well. We know about the Holy Gurbani, how it teaches us. How our other sacred texts like the Bhagavad Gita, how they teach us. They take the place of Guru, and they are perennial, everlasting Gurus, these books. And they are part of what we call sacred literature, religious or spiritual literature. So not just that, but even otherwise, literature generally also, it teaches us a lot. And its another function is that it delights us. reading literature, whether it is a story, it's a novel, it's a poetry, drama, autobiography or biography, all these things give us a great pleasure. When we are in a sad mood, in a gloomy mood, we just need to pick up a book. And if we do, we pick up a book, we go through this, and then after some time, even if we read a few pages of that book, we start feeling better. So that is our great interaction with literature. That is the power of literature. That's what literature can do to us. It can uplift us, it can uplift our mood also. So moving on, literature, as I was telling you, it gives us, it instructs us, and it entertains us. As I was telling you, literature instructs us and entertains us. Afterward, there is another very important role played by literature, and it is a greater vision of life is constructed. That is a very, very positive and very healthy function of literature, that literature helps us in building a very powerful, very strong, very happy vision of life. Life in reality may be dull, drab, and boring, but literature gives us an escape route. It for a while becomes a world for us in which we can dwell, like what the romantic poets tried to do. William Wordsworth, John Keats, and other P.B. Shelley, S.T. Coleridge, all of them, they created a world of their own imagination into which they would try to escape. People accuse them of trying to have escaped away from the harsh realities of life. But then it is natural. Everybody seeks a retreat from problems. For a time being, definitely you seek a retreat, a powerful withdrawal from the harsh realities of life. And that's what poetry can do. When poetry constructs and create a vision of very healthy and happy life, when we feel very happy, our frustration, our disappointment to a great length is driven out. So a great vision of life is constructed by literature, and along with that, it heightens our power. It heightens our power of feelings and imagination. The way we feel and what we feel, and our power of imagination, all these things are heightened. So when these things are heightened, so generally speaking, it means that it broadens, literature broadens our mental horizon. It tries to connect us with the vast universe outside. Don't confine us to this world, to this harsh world only, but it takes us beyond also. It tries to take us into a higher reality also. As Aristotle was also of the view that literature tries to not just imitate life, but it tries to take us to higher reality. So this is what literature does. It takes us to higher reality by way of creating a very strong vision. And for a time being, we feel as if we are living in that world for a time being. Because the world of imagination is very powerful, very strong, and very happy one also. Regarding this, John Keats also has said in Grecian Urn, heard melodies are sweet, those unheard are sweeter. Heard melodies are sweet, those unheard are sweeter. I mean, melodies, those songs which we can hear, all right, they are beautiful. But those songs, those melodies which we can't hear, which we just perceive, they are even more beautiful. So, in this manner, a happy vision of life is helped out to be constructed by literature, and in this manner, it heightens, it improves our power of feeling and imagination. And in this manner, when our power of imagination and emotions, imagination and feelings are heightened, then accordingly, our creative power is also improved. We tend to become more creative. More your imaginative power, more will be your creative power. So those who can imagine, those whose imaginative power is very strong, they can be writers themselves. They can be scientists, they can be thinkers themselves. Here, science and literature, they have a common origin. All scientific explorations and the great works of art and literature, they begin with the dreaming, with imagination. Scientists also imagine, they dream about making certain discoveries, and that is a kind of a thing that is done by literature also. So great works of literature and great works of science, they become possible only by way of strength of the vigor of our imagination power, imaginative power. So literature takes us to, as I'm talking about here, how literature nurtures our imaginative power. It takes us to fairyland, to distant and charming lands. It then, by way of doing so, it relieves us from pain. Even in Sailing to Byzantium also, that a remarkable poem written by W. Yeats, he tries to escape to the world of harsh reality, to that world where he thinks perfection is there, where no sadness and sorrow is there, and it is symbolized for him by Byzantium. This is how normally, this is what the poets try to do. They try to take us to the imaginary worlds. And that is almost that same thing as it happens during our dreams also. We have two kinds of dreams. One, we have very happy dreams, because of which we feel very happy after experiencing them. And on the other hand, we have nightmares also. Definitely, we are scared by our nightmares. Similarly, poets, they try to construct a powerful dreams of happiness, of ideal happiness, of perfect happiness. Just as our dreams are our wish fulfillment, literature is also our wish fulfillment. Freud was also of the view that literature is a wish fulfillment. I will come back to that later also. So, another purpose that is served by, very significant purpose served by literature is aestheticism. Cultivation of that sense of aestheticism. Aestheticism is our sense of appreciation of beauty. Life around is very beautiful. If we have keen eyes to observe beauty around us, then we find that beauty is scattered around all of us. What we need is just an appreciation of that. By studying literature, we are able to develop that appreciation of sense of beauty. That's very good thing for us. That keen sense of beauty. Regarding that, John Keats has again said in Ode on Grecianor, beauty is truth, truth beauty. That's all you know and all you need to know. Beauty is truth, truth beauty. That's all you know and all you need to know. Almost that same kind of thing. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Beauty is truth and truth is equivalent to God. So literature helps us in cultivating that sense of appreciation of beauty, not only of art, not only of literature, but of life in general also. Then about literature, Aristotle has said a lot about literature, a lot about poetry in his The Poetics. Plato was against literature on certain grounds, on philosophical, moral, and emotional grounds. He objected to poetry and literature, but Aristotle, he speaks glowingly in favor of literature. He defends literature from the charges which were leveled by Plato against literature. So much so that Plato, he wanted people like poets to be banished from ideal state. For Plato, poets and artists had no place in the ideal society, in the ideal state. But Aristotle, he defended literature, and he was of the view that literature is not just an imitation of life, rather literature is something higher, something bigger. It tries to capture higher reality and higher truth. He gives one very important term here, catharsis. It's a very significant term, and from which we can understand what function is played by literature in making us feel better. That is catharsis. So according to Aristotle, tragedy brings about the catharsis of the feelings of pity and fear. Catharsis is not explained by Aristotle, but later on attempts were made to explain that term, and it drew a lot of criticism, a lot of appreciation also. What happens is that when we read a work of literature or when we see a drama on the stage, we are able to identify ourselves with the characters. And for some time, when we are watching that performance or when we are reading literature, we tend to forget that we are ourselves. We are totally immersed into the characters. Here, they disappears. He or she disappears, I remains there. So complete is the identification. And it so happens that many a time when we are reading something, we are reading about the plights of a hero or heroine, or we are watching such a drama, we are moved to such an extent that tears start rolling from our eyes. We become emotional. And when we shed tears, while shedding tears, shedding tears is also a great therapy. If there is any burden, any pressure is there on our mind, and if we somehow can manage to weep and cry, then that relieves us from our tension, our problems. When there is some huge burden on somebody's mind, then the first thing that that person tries to do is to share his feelings. And if that person can share his feelings, and if he can weep and cry, then he feels normal again. That function is performed by literature also. When we are reading a book or when we are watching a drama being played on the stage, then we identify ourselves with the characters so much so that we start shedding tears. And after that, catharsis of our feelings of pity and fear is brought out. Our fear is our pity and fear. Our fear because we identify ourselves so much with those characters that we feel the fear of the characters. And when that reading of work is over or when performance of drama is over, we feel happy, we feel satisfied also. Why? Because then we realize, after all, that is a kind of a thing which is not happening with us. After all, it is the characters who have suffered, not we. And that gives us a great happiness. Um so catharsis is that very important term given uh, by Aristotle here. And when we identify ourselves, why do we identify ourselves with the characters? We know that that's not reality. Still, we identify ourselves. Still, we feel sad. Still, we cry and shed tears over the plight of the hero or heroine. Why? Willingly for a moment, as Coleridge also says, we exercise what we call willing suspension of disbelief. Willing suspension or disbelief. For a time being, we exercise that. And willingly we take upon ourselves to believe those things and feel and share the sorrows and sadness of the characters. And so that leaves us. That is a movement towards relieving us from our hidden sorrows, our hidden tensions and problems. Literature can work as an outlet. It's a safety valve for us. You know, in pressure cookers, in the lid of pressure cooker, a safety valve is given. Why? Because if pressure is so much, if somehow that vessel gets blocked, then that safety valve ruptures and it averts the bursting of the cooker. It averts that tragedy that could have otherwise happened. The same thing happens with our case also. With we people also, when we study literature, literature works as a safety valve. Similarly, just as our dreams also are a kind of safety valve for us, they save us, they protect us. Because our mind is so powerful, if we do not like somebody, if we do not love somebody, our hatred is there for somebody, then that gets projected through our dreams, and through our dreams we get cleansed also. Commission of many crimes is prevented by our dreams. That same thing is applicable with literature also. Literature can prevent us from doing many harmful things. Those who study literature, those who are busy with studying literature and literary texts, they are bound to be very, very constructive and very positive because they won't have that time to think negatively. Even if some people have intrinsically some insidious tendencies, some harmful tendencies, that person, if that person takes to study of literature, then I think that person can change himself, herself. That person can become constructive and can contribute to the growth of society. So, Am I audible to you all? Um,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes.
there's again interruption. So we are continuing. I was talking about the powerful role that is played by literature in bringing about catharsis of our feelings of pity and fear. We were discussing that. So there is another role that's very important role played by literature, and I will use term therapy here. You would have heard about various kind of therapies to recover from ailments, various diseases. Similarly, literature is also a therapy. It has a great therapeutic role to play. And regarding that, a new term has been coined that is called bibliotherapy. That you defeat your certain diseases, not only mental but even physical diseases. Diseases can also be overcome by way of study of books, by way of study of literature. It can potentially save us from ailments, and literature can serve as a very powerful immunity booster. After all, when we talk about immunity of our body, and nowadays everybody is talking about boosting immunity by certain medicines, Ayurvedic or allopathic, or by way of our diet, I would say and recommend also that we must consider literature also as a immunity booster. Because after all, what I understand about immunity is that it is something correlated with our willpower. Stronger our willpower, accordingly will be our immunity also. So stronger willpower will lead to greater immunity, and that immunity can be derived from study of literature. Literature, especially nowadays, that can help us to be focused. It can help us to divert our attentions from anxiety, from disappointment and frustration. And once these things are gone, we will our vision of life would become better. And if our vision of life becomes better, definitely our approach towards life will also be better, and we will be able to we will be able to face successfully not only the mental challenges, mental problems, but we shall be able to overcome even the bodily problems also. I mean, the ailments which attack our body, even that can be eradicated. Because after all, everything depends on the kind of message we receive from our mind, and our mind can be burned, it can be conditioned very effectively by study of literature. So literature can be considered, it can be termed as a kind of therapy. It has a great therapeutic function or role to play. Another thing is that literature unites, it binds. That's another very important role played by literature. And it can do it even today also, as literature or poetry bind together by love the vast empire of humanity. This vast empire of humanity is connected by literature. Whether we read the literature of any country, any culture, any race, any religion, when we read that literature, we feel as if it is our own. So, in this manner, linguistic, cultural, racial barriers are broken by the study of literature. When we study William Shakespeare, we study John Milton, we study Homer, we study Dante, we study Virgil. Nowhere, at no point of time, we have this feeling that we are reading the works of some foreigners. Nowhere we have that feeling that we are reading the works of those people who do not belong to our culture, our own country. And how much it has happened in case of William Shakespeare and his works. We feel as if Shakespeare doesn't belong to England but belongs to India. That happens to that happened with even Indian writers also. We have example of our own great Kalidas, who wrote his works about 2000 years ago. But when we read them, we feel as if he belongs to our time, not to antiquity, 2000 years back in time. So the boundaries of time and place are also abolished by literature. So the literature, in a way, connects us, binds us. It binds the entire empire of humanity by love together. That's a very, very powerful function of literature. And even nowadays also, you can choose the literature of any country, any language, and then feel how you feel connected with the people of other countries, other cultures, other races. You will feel as if you belong to whole of the world. You will feel as if you belong not only to India but you belong to whole of the humanity, whole of the world. And possibly you will start thinking, as it is possible to think nowadays, that possibly we belong to whole of the universe. After all, there must be countless humanities like us in remote corners, in other corners of this universe. We haven't been able to discover so far, but maybe, who knows, in near future, it would be just possible. So in this manner, we know that it is literature that connects us, that binds us. So another thing that is done by literature is that understanding of different times. I have already talked about that. Places and cultures. Literature teaches us about life, about what life is, about what culture is, what humanity. We can easily understand these things by way of our study of literature. And we have plenty of such stories, plenty of such works which teach us about these things in great length. Through literature, we may discern, in the words of H.W. Longfellow, a great American poet. I am quoting those lines from his poem, The Ladder of St. Augustine. We may discern unseen before. We may discern unseen before a path to higher destinies. So it's a great tribute to literature, these lines. He says that we may discern. I am quoting these lines out of context. I have just extracted them and I am applying it here to a different context. The context of the destinies of the literature, we may discern, we may understand unseen before, something which we have never seen before, which we have never experienced. A path to higher destinies. In this manner, with the help of literature, we can move towards higher destinies which we wouldn't have seen before. Another very great role that is played by literature is personality development. Our overall personality is also developed by literature. It gives us a better understanding of human nature. It makes us better human beings. And apart from that study of literature, we tend to understand human psychology. We even come to know a lot about the working of mind. As so, we come to know a lot about working of human mind by way of study of literature. And then creativity is also developed. If you read literature, creative literature, then it can help you two ways. A reading of literature can foster your creative skills. You can become a creative writer. And another thing is that if you can't have that creativity, then your critical powers are invoked. You can become a critic and you can write reviews about literature. That is another contribution of literature. And then I had referred to science fiction, how science fiction can help in scientific discoveries also. Sci-fi or scientific fiction is there that can many times lead to certain scientific discoveries also. There are many such works, and I have already mentioned one such work, H.G. Wells' Time Machine. We will see in future something like time machine being discovered by our scientists. Another very important thing that is done by literature is that if we nowadays we have a lot of time, we get to spend a lot of time at homes. Thanks due to this pandemic, it can be a blessing in disguise also. If it's a problem, this pandemic can be a blessing in disguise also. It can help you to do what you couldn't have otherwise done. I would like to tell you from my own personal experience also that in the past 1 year, thanks due to the break given to us by or time provided by this pandemic, this COVID-19, I was able to write over 140 poems and 2 stories. I wanted to write earlier on also, but couldn't find time. But this pandemic gave me time, and I could write those poems. And writing something creative that is really highly satisfying in itself. Whatever may be its quality, but writing something, doing something creative is really a marvelous feeling. So anybody can do these kind of things. They can write something creative. They can do something creative in other fields also. But literature will definitely help in this case. And then another thing is that your language is also improved. You learn, your vocabulary improves, your power of expression improves, your understanding of language improves, your use of language becomes even more beautiful. That is another help coming to us from a wide study of literature. So, in this manner, I would like to conclude here. Um, as we have just discussed the positive and very constructive role of literature with vast potentialities to make our life much more worth living and actually blessed and blissful. Literature can help make our life blessed and blissful. especially in today's difficult times, how even these difficult times can, by the study of literature, be converted into beautiful ones. That has just been discussed here. So I would like to recommend here to you to, if you find time, if you have time to take to the study of literature. If you find time, you should definitely take to the study of literature. Just try and see how and what benefits it will give to you. It will unfold a treasure before you all. I have already talked about writing literature. If you can't write, all right, you must read literature and then see a vast treasure of wisdom being opened before us. Not for we, just for nothing we get the knowledge, that depth of knowledge that our great writers, great scholars have, who took a lot of times. They devoted their entire lifespan to experience those things, to feel those things, and then write them down. That wisdom of theirs, that comes to us in no time. We just need to pick up a book, and then we will have that knowledge coming to us, transferred to us very easily. That is a great role played by literature, and in today's times, it is even more relevant. It can make us feel even more happy and healthy. So just practice it, and hoping and praying for the well-being of all in these difficult times. I would like to say, in the words of Tennyson, his message delivered by him in Ulysses, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. That is, we should not surrender at any time. We should always keep on ceaselessly working towards betterment. So we shouldn't admit defeat even at this point of time also. We should go on working towards achieving our greater goals. Such problems are bound to come, they come and go, but humanity and human will survive, it will triumph. Here with the very motivational lines of H.W. Longfellow from the same poem, St. Augustine's Ladder, I would like to quote these lines and conclude my address here. The heights by great men, the heights by great men reached and kept. The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by a sudden flight. Were not attained by a sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept. But they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. Were toiling upward in the night. These are those immortal words of H.W. Longfellow. So, hoping and praying for well-being of all, I conclude here my address. I am thankful to the organizing committee of this webinar, to the principal, Dr. Baljeet Singh, to Professor Ritu Singh, Professor Navdeep Singh, and the entire organizing committee. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and I'm thankful to the participants also for their patience in listening to this discourse. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your such an informative session. Indeed, you well said that literature plays a role of antidote and safe walls as it relaxed our minds from daily trifles and anxieties. So it is a very informative session. I hope all the participants have enjoyed and get benefited from this session. Now it is to information of all that the session is open for queries. If anyone have any query, you can set your queries here and get them a satisfactory end. Anyone have any query? I think all the participants have already satisfied with this session. So I would like to invite Professor Navdeep Singh to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, my very warm regards to our today's keynote speaker, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sharma ji, and our worthy principal, Dr. Baljit Singh Khera ji, and the entire organizing committee, and all the participants. I, Assistant Professor Navdeep Singh, take privilege to offer my vote of thanks on this occasion. I extend my special thanks to our worthy keynote speaker, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sharma ji. Your thoughts have really enlightened us and showed us a new path in this pandemic. We all were suffering, we all were distressed with the gnawing sense of loss. But this lecture, I am sure, going to provide a new vision to all, especially to our students all across the country. So I really thank you, sir. And my next thanks goes to our worthy, energetic, and respected principal, Dr. Baljit Singh Khera ji, being a catalyst behind this entire endeavor. Also, I extend my feeling of thankfulness to our HOD, Professor Jaspal Singh, Department of Languages, and Professor Ritu, convener of this webinar. And also, I extend my thanks to the entire committee, including all, and even those who remain behind the scenes, what really helped us to get through this webinar to execute our plans. Last but not the least, my great sense of appreciation goes to, on behalf of BM Khalsa College Garshankar, its entire faculty, to all the participants, those who really made this seminar a successful one. So thank you all. Over to Professor Ritu. Thank you.
There is an announcement. All the participants, there is an announcement that feedback link is given. So you have to fill this feedback link and you will receive your certificates. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Welcome, Nadeem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.